You noble diggers, all stand up now.
Welcome, comrade. Never forget the forms.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to my channel. Today we will be talking about Che Guevara. I said I'd do David Hume today, but I looked for him on my bookshelf last night, and I could not find him. He's probably there. What I'll do is I'll read a PDF of it to reacquaint myself, and then I'll do it tomorrow, no matter what. I apologize. So today we're going to be trying something new. I'm going to be trying to emulate my favorite professor. I was at school for a long time, had many professors, probably over 30, and I only respected only one guy in 30 professors that I think this guy's probably smarter than I am. He spoke 15 languages. He never ever missed a reference, historical, philosophical, military, cultural. He was beyond the others. And so this is for Rohit Dalvi, Professor Dalvi. We're going to be doing Che Guevara's guerrilla warfare in the style of Dalvi, which is all he would do is he would just sit there and read the book in his head until he found a line that he liked, and then he would read it aloud and riff on it. It was so good. We'll see if I can recreate any of the excellence from it. The armed victory of the Cuban people over the Batista dictatorship was not only the triumph of heroism as reported by the newspapers of the world, it also forced a change in the old dogmas considering the conduct of the popular masses of Latin America. It showed plainly the capacity of the people to free themselves by means of guerrilla warfare from a government that oppresses them. We consider that the Cuban Revolution contributed three fundamental lessons to the conduct of revolutionary movements in America. They are: 1. Popular forces can win a war against the army. 2. It is not necessary to wait until all conditions for making revolution exist. The insurrection can create them. 3. In underdeveloped America, the countryside is the basic area for armed fighting. So he's talking about the Cuban Revolution, and he doesn't mean, fighting in the countryside of Virginia, though I'm sure he would have loved to try it. Um, he's talking about leading a guerrilla revolution in the jungle, Guatemala, but Cuba is where he was successful. And if you know anything about the lore of the Cuban Revolution, something like 80 guys got together to do it. They got crushed. They got smacked their first battle. Something like 8 dudes remained after that, and they won. They pulled themselves up, and they were like, all right, let's go win the revolution. And they did. Guerrilla warfare, the basis of the struggle of a people to redeem itself, has diverse characteristics, different facets, even though the essential will for liberation remains the same. It is obvious, and writers on the theme have said it many times, that war responds to a certain series of scientific laws. Whoever ignores them will go down to defeat. Guerrilla warfare, as a phase of war, must be ruled by all of these, but besides, because of its special aspects, a series of corollary laws must also be recognized in order to carry it forward. Though geographical and social conditions in each country determine the mode and particular forms that guerrilla warfare will take, there are general laws that hold for all fighting of this type. Our task at the moment is to find the basic principles of this kind of fighting and the rules to be followed by people seeking liberation, to develop theory from facts, to generalize and give structure to our experience for the profit of others. Let us first consider the question: who are the combatants in guerrilla warfare? On one side, we have a group composed of the oppressor and his agents, the professional army, well armed and disciplined, in many cases receiving foreign help, as well as the help of the bureaucracy and the employ of the oppressor. On the other side are the people of the nation or region involved. It is important to emphasize that guerrilla warfare is a war of the masses, a war of the people. The guerrilla band is an armed nucleus, the fighting vanguard of the people. It draws its great force from the mass of the people itself. The guerrilla band is not to be considered inferior to the army against which it fights simply because it is inferior in firepower. Guerrilla warfare is used by the side which is supported by a majority but which possesses a much smaller number of arms for use in defense against oppression. The guerrilla fighter needs full help from the people of that area. This is an indispensable condition. This is clearly seen by considering the case of bandit gangs that operate in a region. They have all the characteristics of a guerrilla army: homogeneity, respect for the leader, valor, knowledge of the ground, and often even good understanding of the tactics to be employed. The only thing missing is the support of the people. And inevitably, these gangs are captured and exterminated by public force. So he's saying, and I don't think he would I don't think he would distinguish between gangs, revolutionary bands, and the government, the oppressors. That they're all gangs, and that it is decorum that changes the rules, right? The effects in the world. It should be noted that in current interpretations there are two different types of guerrilla warfare, one of which, a struggle complementing great regular armies, such as was the case of the Ukrainian fighters in the Soviet Union, does not enter into this analysis. We are interested in the other type, the case of an armed group engaged in struggle against the constituted power. The China of Mao begins as an outbreak of worker groups in the south, which is defeated and almost annihilated. It succeeds in establishing itself and begins its advance only when, after the Long March from Yan'an, it takes up base in rural territories and makes agrarian reform its fundamental goal. The struggle of Ho Chi Minh is based in the rice-growing peasants who are oppressed by the French colonial yoke. With this force, it is going forward to the defeat of the colonialists. So both times he there is pointing towards the agricultural basin as the most fruitful area for revolutionary activity. I think that this should not be taken to any thinking about the first world or revolution here. That if you were to, and this channel does not recommend, this channel does not advertise you do, but if you were to think about doing guerrilla warfare in the first world, would you try to flee into the forests? Would you try and flee into the agricultural basin? It's all landed off. I think that the concrete jungles, that you should disappear into the cities if you were to attempt guerrilla warfare. But that's just me wargaming. I just wanted to say it's not a truth. It's not a truth that's going to happen, but these always has to happen. But these people are third worldists, right? They believe that the peasantry, the peasant farmers are the most fruitful area for revolution, following Trotsky's idea of a co-equal but combined development, that the world is an imperial system, and so the least advanced but integrated portion of the system will be these peasants in these backwards areas, Vietnam, China, that were imperial 1,000 years ago, but now are backwards, or were then, and have since caught up. But anyways, I just wanted to say that he's mostly talking about third worldists. There are fundamental aspects to be studied. The armament, for example, and the manner of using the armament. The value of a tank, of an airplane in a fight of this type must be weighed. The arms of the enemy, his ammunition, his habits must be considered, because the principal source of provision for the guerrilla force is precisely in enemy armaments. If there is a possibility of choice, we should prefer the same type as that used by the enemy, since the greatest problem of the guerrilla band is the lack of ammunition which the opponent must provide. He's talking about strategy, but he is always talking about logistics throughout this book. He hyper focuses on logistics, food, fats, oils, uh, keep the men up. But here we're talking about armaments, which means your weapon. This is your rifle. There are many like it. It's just like that, right? You must, as the guerrilla, come to know your weapon, and you must know how to care for it, know how to maintain it, know how to repair it, know how to reload it, know how to fire it well. But most importantly, you have to be judgmental. Sorry, you have to be judicious with your expenditure of ammunition, because coming by new ammo will be hard as a guerrilla fighter. You either have to raid the Federals or pick it up off your conquests, or set up your own production camp, which is fraught with its own danger. At the outset, the essential task of the guerrilla fighter is to keep himself from being destroyed. Little by little, it will be easier for the members of the guerrilla band or bands to adapt themselves to their form of life, to make flight and escape from the forces that are offensive an easy task, because it is performed daily. When this condition is reached, the guerrilla, having taken up inaccessible positions out of reach of the enemy, or having assembled forces that deter the enemy from attacking, ought to proceed to the gradual weakening of the enemy. This will be carried out at first at those points nearest to the points of active warfare against the guerrilla band, and later will be taken deeper into enemy territory, attacking his communications, later attacking or harassing his bases of operations and his central bases, tormenting him on all sides to the full extent of the capabilities of the guerrilla forces. The blows should be continuous. The enemy soldier in a zone of operations ought not to be allowed to sleep. His outposts ought to be attacked and liquidated systematically. At every point, the impression ought to be created that he is surrounded by a complete circle. In wooded and broken areas, this effort should be maintained both day and night, in open zones that are easily penetrated by enemy patrols at night only. In order to do all this, the absolute cooperation of the people and a perfect knowledge of the ground is necessary. These two necessities affect every minute of the life of the guerrilla fighter. Therefore, along with the centers for study of present and future zones of operations, intensive popular work must be taken to explain the motives of the revolution, its ends, and to spread the incontrovertible truth that victory of the enemy against the people is finally impossible. Do you see his argument there? He says that you have to have more energy than the oppressor. You have to be at them all the time, and you have to continue to fight them, harass them, skirmish with them constantly, so that they wear down and that you prevail. Warfare is a contest of wills, and the one who maintains that they have not been defeated the longest wins. And how he says you do this is through ideological commitment. You offer people something. You offer them the better day. And what's the better day? You get to raise your kids in peace. You get to raise your kids in prosperity. You get to see your kids grow taller than you because they were eating better than we did as children. Those are the things you offer to revolutionaries. The strike is a most important factor in civil war, but in order to reach it, a series of complementary conditions are necessary, which do not always exist, and which rarely come to exist spontaneously. It is necessary to create these essential conditions, basically by explaining the purposes of the revolution and by demonstrating the forces of the people and their possibilities. So he's like, strikes will be useful, but not as useful as the vanguard. Make the strikes. That's what he said. So he says it should cellularize. It should. Oh, I don't know the word. That's embarrassing.
Mitosis.
But these bands of guerrillas should undergo parthenogenesis. They should birth new bands. So once you've reached a size, depends on your objectives and the strategy in the region, and what the size of the area we're talking about will also depend on the strategy, size, and region that you're attempting to do. But once you reach a respectable size, you have to expand. You have to elect a new chief from the ranks, send him with a couple soldiers, revolutionaries, and find new lands to revolutionize. He says the bands should be used to encircle larger units. So use small bands in a safe place as bait to encircle larger units, or counter encircle with even smaller units. If a fellow guerrilla soldier falls, you are to pick up the ammunition, not not any effects from him, but the ammunition and his weapons are sacred, and you cannot leave them on the battlefield. The guerrilla fighter is flexible. There are only elastic positions, specific places that the enemy cannot pass, places of diverting him. Frequently, the enemy, after easily overcoming difficulties in a gradual advance, is surprised to find himself suddenly and solidly detained without possibilities of moving forward. So he's saying that you a cell-like battle, right? This network type battle where each small band of guerrilla fighters is attempting to harass, surround, and defend in depth, right? So you don't defend the position, you're just trying to kill the enemy, and if you lose the position, hopefully you've killed enough enemy to make it worth it. You have to distinguish between sabotage and terrorism, and that killing large numbers of victims is generally ineffective and will be used as a propaganda effort by the oppressors. We get to about page 35. We're going to do suburban warfare the next time we pick this up. Hello, you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you. This channel has one mission: to prevent civilizational collapse associated with climate change, to prevent 100 million refugees by 2035, to stop 7 billion from starving to death by 2075. And we will do this through one main vehicle. We mean to unite the Anglosphere. We will do this by convincing the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III to apply for statehood as one. And then with this new power, we will be able to negotiate in good faith with the rest of the world on how to tackle this crisis. Thank you and enjoy.